Hello, ladies and gents. So great to have you here. Welcome to another episode of Pull the Trigger. This episode is for you. If you're this high caliber woman or man, entrepreneur who has an insatiable appetite for growth, you want more out of life and business, and you're ready to do just that. Pull the trigger. Now, you're going to want to give us your undivided attention, because when you give us your undivided attention, it equates to retention. Now, the guest that I have with you here today, I'm so honored to call her my friend. I'm so honored to call her a sister. She's from Argentina, Jessie Medina. So great to have you here, babe. It's going to be so much fun. Now, it's appropriate that I introduce my gorgeous guest that I've known now for about a little over 2 years when you kicked off, your event. So, oh my goodness, you're going to want to take copious notes, ladies and gents, because my guest is amazing. Again, filled with a wealth of information. And not only is she an international speaker, okay, she's the founder of a movement, female empowerment movement for entrepreneurs just like you. She's the CEO of Femex Quarters, which is a local San Diego events venue where I have personally hosted my conferences, my seminars. I've spoken there numerous times. Thank you, Jessie, for putting this venue together, because it's something that's needed, not only in San Diego, but throughout the world. So I personally want to thank you for giving me that modality to reach out, the men and women that I want to empower. Now, Femex Quarters is for you. If you want to collaborate with other female, male entrepreneurs, she hosts weekly events, you guys. You're going to want to connect with this powerful woman. She is amazing. I mean, we've spent personal time together, remember?
Yes, I do remember.
We did a road trip to Los Angeles with another high caliber female entrepreneur. And we just connected on a deeper level. So that was so much fun. I appreciate that. But Jessie truly wants you to thrive financially. Jessie truly wants you to thrive in the personal aspect. Now, Jessie has been featured in Forbes, Entrepreneur Magazine, CBX, Fox, Telemundo. Oh my goodness, mujer. And another thing about my amazing, gorgeous friend is she's engaged to Noe. Now, I've met her fiance, Noe. Le mando un besote, Noe, because he personally helped me when I've needed any type of support. Such a professional, un mexicano chingón.
Yes.
So, I know you're expecting, Jessie, and is there anything I missed in this beautiful introduction? Please introduce yourself, and what an honor it is to have you here.
Sandra, it's such an honor to be here with you. Thank you so much for having me, for the kind words. Like you said, we're expecting now, and it's a whole new chapter, a whole new world of possibilities. So I'm just really excited. This is actually my first interview since, finding out I'm pregnant. So thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And what a great thing, motherhood, which is, such a blessing that comes with other challenges. And I'll ask you a question about that later on. But, you know me, I want to get down to the nitty gritty and ask these questions that women are like, oh, Sandra, ask for this, ask for that, So if it's okay with you, I'll move forward with my first question.
For sure. Let's do it.
So, when I met you and I realized a common trend amongst female entrepreneurs and men, is this lack of funding, right? So what if a woman who's listening right now, or a man, is like, I want to do what Jessie's doing. I want to set up shop, right? What would be your recommendation for him or her to move forward?
Well, listen, what happens is we look at the facts, right? The facts are that women-owned businesses are less funded, right? The facts are that maybe even men that are men of color get less funding, right? So we look at these facts and we get scared. We get paralyzed, because they exist and they are out there. And so we look at these things, especially when you want to start a brick and mortar, right? Like I was trying to get a building in San Diego, which is one of the most expensive places out of all places. And, at first I went in all hopeful when I did my business plan. I remember I was in my office and I drew this picture of what I wanted. And I was kind of, I guess you could say, naive, right? That's how people would describe it later. But there's a beauty in that. Because when you start looking at all these facts, what happens is sometimes you start questioning yourself, like, okay, if only 20% of women-owned businesses get funding, what makes me think I'm going to be the 20%, And so sometimes what happens is we don't even try. Really, we don't even try. Exactly. It is true that those things exist. Those facts are there. But it is also true that we can be the ones that change the facts. We can be the ones that are in that 20%, in the 1%, whatever it may be. So what I tell people is it's kind of beautiful to embrace that naivety. It's kind of beautiful to say, you know what, you may say no to me, but I'm going to figure it out. So what happened is I started going to banks and the SBA and all these places with my innocence at the moment, right? With my big dreams. And everybody started saying, no, you can't do it. You're too young. You don't have enough capital. You've never got a building before. You don't have enough backing, whatever, they would tell me different things. And I remember like this one time, like I walked out of the building, like crying, and I went to my car and I was crying. I was like, it's not fair. Like I had such a good idea. But it almost gave me the drive because I've always been stubborn, I don't know if it's the Latina in me or what, like it almost made me like, let me show you, like, I'm going to do this. I don't care what people say. I'm going to figure it out. So sometimes, yes, it's a little bit harder. You have to get creative. You have to find your own way, but it's not impossible. So I went to work. I worked on that business plan. I worked on the financial side. So because at that point I was like, well, if the banks won't loan me because, I'm trying to get a building, that's like a process, right? And I had never bought like big property or anything where they would trust me, to say, yeah, we'll give you all this money. So I said, well, then I have to get a private investor, someone that can help me privately, right? Someone that, in my head, I was like, if I don't meet the regular qualifications, I have to convey my message and convince someone that this is a great idea. So I put the idea on paper. I, had to pitch it multiple times. And I finally got somebody that was like, that he saw the vision, and he was like, the cool thing is that the way I negotiated that, I didn't know it at the time because I was not in the financial world, when it came to business. It has a name what I did, but at the time it was just me getting creative. I did not want to give away equity. I didn't want an investor that was going to take away a percentage of my business, especially not a guy at the time, because I'm like, this is a women, business. Like, I don't want that. And so the way I negotiated it, it was almost like as if this person is making a loan, but then they were going to get profit sharing for a certain amount of time, right? So they're still going to benefit and make extra money. But it was beautiful. I didn't know it was called profit sharing. I didn't know any of that. I was just like, hey, I have this idea. He loved it. He agreed with the terms. And that really helped me get the initial backing to get in the building. And once I got in the building, I also used personal credit, like things like that to get everything going, right? But this is what I tell people is, if I had been more pragmatic and I hadn't been quote unquote naive and like, hey, I'm going to figure it out, maybe I wouldn't have done it, because in reality, people were telling me like, you don't qualify, you don't have what it takes. And so if you have an idea, if you have a big dream, if you have something that's just burning inside that you're like, I have to do this. If it's for you, you can make it happen no matter what people tell you. you can make it happen. If it's yours, you can make it happen. The key is to not give up. The key is not to give up before you even try, which is what happens many times. So it's in your hands, and you have to take action, and you have to keep going, and you have to be quote unquote stubborn.
I love that. Love that, Jessie, and just so also my viewers can get a little bit of flavor about what we're talking about here is you have to pull the trigger, and as a retired Marine officer turned life coach speaker, throughout my 20 years in the Marine Corps, it's one of the things that I inculcated in these female recruits as they got ready for the rigors of combat, is pull the trigger, even though sometimes you might be like scared, or in your case, two things came up. You said naive, and I've also heard this in a podcast, or I read it somewhere, that it's important for you to be naive. Like, what a beautiful thing. We need to be a child again, right? And it's like the world is our playground. Just step and have fun. Be naive. And like you were relentless, Jessie. You're like, okay, no, keep going. No, keep going. Another thing, so that stood out for me, you being naive, which is a great thing. I agree. The other thing you were saying was that you established boundaries. Like you knew, no, okay, the man is going to be involved in my business plan. This is how I want it to be. That is so, so good. So what would, having shared what you shared, what do you say is personally responsible for helping you pull the trigger?
Honestly, like I gotta give credit to my fiance too, because at that time, first of all, he's the one that made the connection with this guy, and it was someone that he knew. So there was already a pre-existing trust there, right? Like it wasn't just a cold calling kind of situation. So it's always important to surround yourself with people that support you, whether it's a romantic partner or just friends, right? Like the kind of people that are not gonna tell you, oh, you just need to move on. Oh, you just need to stay in your job, to get that steady paycheck. And a lot of people, even well-meaning people, are going to do that, right? Because they think they're helping you. So it's really important to surround yourself with other people that believe in you. And at that time, I could count with one hand because I had just moved to San Diego. I was new here. So I just had my fiance. I didn't have any family here. I had like a couple of friends here. But those few people were able to believe in my dreams, and that kept me going. I remember, for example, one of the people that knew, because only 3 people knew what I was trying to do, she, I didn't see her for like a whole month or 2. And then when I saw her, she asked me about it. And this is around the time when I kind of had stopped looking for buildings because I had lost a little bit of motivation, right? Because I went through ups and downs. It wasn't like I was always pumped up, And I remember I see her and she's like, so what happened? Like, what's going on? Are you still looking for buildings? And, because at that time I had the agreement, but then I still had to find something within my budget and whatnot. And, I had kind of taken a break unofficially of like looking. And when she asked me that was accountability, because when she asked me that, I said, it was like someone reminded me, she's like, so what's going on? Are you still looking? And I said, in that moment, I felt like, I know it's going to come, but also inside, I knew it was a reminder and accountability that, now I have people that are checking up on me, and they, they are looking, and they're in a way, just rooting for me, So I won't forget that moment, because in that moment I was like, okay, like after this meeting, I'm going to go back and start looking again. You know what I mean? And a week later, we found a place. That place didn't go through, but it worked out perfectly because we found the new place that we have now. But it was just like, it kind of kickstarted the action again. So it's really important to surround yourself. And listen, if you don't have anybody, that's okay. You can still do it. But if you have a choice, if you notice that you have a few people in your life that are kind of pushing you to do more, don't think of it as something offensive. I've met people that, so-and-so is always pushing me. It's always like asking me questions. And those people are actually the best people you can surround yourself with, because they're going to keep you accountable and they're going to keep you moving forward. And the people that you are too comfortable with, and the people that you can settle for anything and they'll just kind of ride with you, maybe amazing people, but are not going to be the people that are going to help you get to the level where you want to be.
Wow. And I love that you bring that up, Jessie, because, that's like a perfect segue into this next question of which, as a solopreneur, I experienced that. It's like, man, am I in this by myself? Nobody understands. You feel like nobody understands you. Mm-hmm. And, the moment you do bring it up to the wrong people, and it's now you realize, don't take it personally. Because you're growing doesn't necessarily mean, they're growing. Mm-hmm. And what you might share with them might somewhat intimidate them, because they're not at your caliber.
Yes.
So, what have you done? You sparked this movement that thanks to you, I've brought people together through seminars. I've met other incredible entrepreneurs. But what would you say, and you say you don't need it to move forward with your passion. But for the female, who right now is like, God, this is a solo journey. ¿Qué hago? ¿Cómo salgo adelante? How can I connect with other women that think like me? What would you say?
You have to put yourself out there. So actually, one of the inspirations to create this community for me was that I started as a solopreneur in a new city, and I was feeling lonely. And I remember looking for networking events at the time, and I didn't know. So I was just Google, Eventbrite, and I kept going to these networking events where I genuinely wanted more than just a business transaction. I genuinely wanted friends because I didn't know anybody. And everybody was like, here's my business card, like it was very salesy, very transactional. And I kept saying to myself, like, I want to go to an event where people actually want to grab coffee because they want to grab coffee. Because sometimes people would say, oh yeah, let's grab coffee a few times, right? And then you would sit with them and it was just like a whole pitch, like a 1-hour pitch of what they were selling. And it was so disappointing inside because I was like, man, like, why can't we just be friends? Maybe I'll buy from you later, but why can't we just be friends first, right? And for me, what I have to do is, because of the type of personality that I am, and I'm visionary, I'm a starter of things. And so I was like, I'm going to start throwing events because I want an event that's like this and like this and like that. And we have this slogan, we don't network, we connect. And it's not that networking in itself is bad, but the way that we're doing it now is not the right way. So I like to say we connect, we come here to connect first. Our business meetups, and I'm proud to say that we started doing, my fiance started hosting meetups for men too, for male entrepreneurs every week. But we have a rule. So when you come to our events, you cannot talk about business at first for like at least 6 weeks. You cannot say what you do. You cannot share your social media handle. You cannot share your title. And the reason for doing that is because, one, we don't want anyone placing their value on their title, their amount of followers, the business that they have. We want people to really connect with each other. And it's interesting because when I'm speaking at these events, I'm looking at the room and I'm like, every single woman I see is so badass. And every single person here has amazing businesses, but they don't know that about each other, right? Yet. And they're connecting deeply and they're talking about past traumas and they're talking about their dreams and they're talking about even silly things, right? Like their hobbies. And we have them do a sister date every week. They have to meet someone that they've never talked before one-on-one, and they have to connect without talking business. And the men have the same rule. And what's happening is these women are connecting so well that when they do get to share their business, you care about this person now. Sandra, if you're my friend and I know your character, I know the challenges that you've been through, I know your passion, I know the why, like you do things in general. Like when I find out what you do for work, who do you think I'm going to refer to someone that's looking for, say, a coach, right? Am I going to refer someone that I cold met somewhere and handed me their card? Or am I going to think top of mind, Sandra, this is the person for you? And this is what happens. And this is the magic behind it. And I encourage people listening, even if you don't come to our meetups, but next time you go to any event, try to connect with people deeply. Don't introduce yourself with, this is, I used to go to a lot of events in LA, and I have a bigger following. And, back in the day, this is before the pandemic, I would go to an event, and people that didn't know me sometimes would be kind of dismissive, like, oh, hi, nice to meet you, bye, kind of thing. And then I could tell that maybe they introduced me as a speaker, or like somehow the same people would find out who I was. And then all of a sudden, the same people would approach me with a complete different attitude, and like almost like sucking up to me in a way, like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that. And it's like, do you think I'm interested in talking to this person now? I don't want anyone talking to me because it's convenient, right? So this is the beauty of it. Look for those spaces, and they're out there. And if not, create that for yourself. Maybe you're not gonna start a whole movement, but maybe you say, I'm only going to give my time and space to people that are genuine, to people that really care about me, to people who want to truly connect. And start maybe, it doesn't mean you have to break up with all your friends or people around you, but just, we sometimes dedicate time to the wrong people, and it takes away from the time of our mission, of our purpose. It takes away from the time. I'm a person that cares so much about people that when I'm invested in people, I'm there. I'm all in, right? So I know that I have to be picky. I know that because I know that whoever I invest my time in is going to be all in. So it has to be the right people. So start thinking that way, like who is worth, see it as an investment, because time is the biggest asset that we have, and it's the biggest investment we can make. Money comes and goes, but where we spend our time is the biggest thing, and we cannot get time back. Even the billionaires will tell you that. And so be really picky about who you spend your time with, where you're going, what kind of events you're going to, what kind of events you're putting money into. And you're going to start seeing that because you're honoring those boundaries and you're honoring who you are, you're going to start attracting your tribe. You're going to start attracting the people that are in alignment with your values, in alignment with your goals, big dreamers. I always say, I always attract big dreamers. I always attract go-getters, but it's because I made room for them. I don't have room for leeches. I don't have room for people that take advantage, So it's really important that we are picky. And as we become more picky, what we're really saying is, I know my worth. Oof. And I know what I deserve.
So beautiful, Jessie. And you, without a doubt, you practice what you preach, because I want to say at a minimum, I've spoken there 3 times. And just because knowing either me hosting a seminar, a conference, or me, because I was invited to speak at that venue, you're there. I could see I'm speaking and I'm like, oh, there's Jessie in the back. Whether it's for that moral support, professional support, it's like just seeing you there. It's like we high five. Mm-hmm. And I love that about you, mujer. And it's so transparent. And it's one of the many reasons why I chose and will continue choosing your venue. This forum to bring these high caliber men and women together. Thank you for being transparent. Thank you for sharing this love, the passion that you have, because it's in our Latina blood. Yeah. Another thing that I loved that you highlighted was it's happened to me too. Like I've been like a keynote speaker somewhere. Mm-hmm. And a friend, oh my God, Sandra, what are you doing here? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, I was invited. Oh, okay, whatever. But then when they find out you're the keynote speaker, like everything changes. Yeah. And you realize, you know what? This is where you want to associate yourself with people who treat others with the utmost respect. Mm-hmm. People that treat others with compassion and empathy. Because for me, one of the most attractive qualities, traits in a person is I want to see how you treat that person who's serving you coffee. Yes. I want to see how you treat, the people around you, because that speaks volumes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What comes up for you, Jessie, out of curiosity as I share that with you? And I know you shared a little bit more, but that is such a beautiful thing to have. Mm-hmm.
Well, the thing is like you'll never know who's sitting next to you, right? And that happens at the meetups. Like I look around the women, I'm like, only she knew that this person is going to do a Netflix documentary, and this person next to her is like a badass coach and teaches at Harvard and like all these things. Like, I know that, and I love seeing that connection. But when I see these women connecting so well, genuinely, without knowing like what they do, it's like, man, I know that there's only going to be so much synergy and so much growth and so many referrals, because I can see the connections there. And it's a beautiful thing to see. But even if someone is a server, even if someone is grabbing you coffee, you know, many times I do that. I act like, you know, I don't like to show up places acting like I'm all that or anything, right? Because I want to attract those people that are genuine. And so, yeah, as you say that, it's so true. And also, you'll never know what people, you know, you kind of reminded me when you said that, if I may share the story. You know, this is not necessarily business related, but when I was in college, I was working a bunch of odd jobs, you know, restaurants and whatnot. And I remember one time, you know, I was like a genius in school. I had really good grades. I knew I had a bright future. And at the time, I was just working as a cashier at a restaurant. And, you know, this lady doesn't know me, right? She comes in, a customer, and she was just like, really just super rude, super, she was just acting like better than thou, you know, like she was just, and so she wanted me to do a transaction. She had given me the card, and then she wanted me to give her cash. And like, we had like this really old registers where we couldn't really do that. This is like a decade ago. And I was like, I'm sorry, we can't do that. And she was just like, it's simple math. Don't you know math? And she was just so rude. And, you know, I had amazing grades. I had, you know, it wasn't anything like that. It was just like, I had this job because I needed it, because, you know, my parents couldn't help me with college. And so I was working like 3 jobs and doing everything I could to pay for school. And, you know, I never forgot that lady, because I remember thinking inside, like, this lady has no idea who I am. You know, and I couldn't believe it, because she treated me so badly. Like, she's like, are you ignorant? Like, she was straight up insulting me. Like, you don't know math. If I give you this much, you can give me in cash. And I was like, we just can't do that here with the register. It'll show me like I'm short. And I never forgot that lady, you know, and it's not giving it power or anything like that. There's no emotion attached to it. But I just never forgot, like, you'll never know who people are going to be. And you never know who they already are. Because even because I was a cashier, my value was still the same. I was still like, you know, you are high caliber, you are valuable, you are worthy, no matter what you do for work, no matter what your title is. And so I remember just knowing my worth and not letting it get to me and saying, she has no idea who she's talking to. Instead of thinking like, oh, I'm ignorant or I'm less than. And even in business, wherever you go, when people don't see your worth, don't take it as something personal. Take it as a reflection of themselves and their self-worth. This is what they need to do to feel better about themselves. And high caliber people, I love that you use that word, that term. You know, you are so confident in yourself and in your worth that you want to spread that to others. You want others to also feel important, because they are. And this is how you know that someone deserves your time, that someone deserves your friendship, because they can see beauty because they are beautiful inside. They are strong. They're confident. It's only a reflection of them. It's never about you.
That's powerful, Jessie, right there with it itself. Oh man, I hope the ladies and gents watching this grasp this, because that I've personally realized, you know, is the most powerful thing you can give yourself, is knowing how to interact with others and kind of drawing the line and saying, oh, that's you. That's not on me. You know, I know what I'm capable of, and I'm going to move forward in the right direction, despite whatever you might think. And, you know, so I love how you shared that story, because it's one of the things that will empower you to keep moving forward, because there's going to be other circumstances or situations that are going to want to, you know, pull you back from you pursuing your dreams. So I love that you shared that, Jessie. So
and can I say one more thing too, related to this is, I lost the need to defend myself years ago. And that helped me so much. Lose that need to defend yourself. you know who you are. So when if people make up something about you, if there's a lie, if there's anything like that, people accuse you of something that's not even your intention, anything like that,
Yes.
There's the level where you can defend yourself. And then there's that next level where it's like, I don't even need to defend myself. I'm just going to move on. I have things to do. I have a mission. I know where I'm going. I know who I am. And if I really made a mistake, I will apologize. I will be the first one to admit it. But if I know something is not true, if I know someone is just, thinking the worst or projecting on me, I'm just going to move on. Like, I have no need to defend myself. And I think for women, that can be so powerful because you're taking the power away from those people and you're owning it. You're saying, I own my own image. I don't have to explain myself to anyone.
Jessie, you're dropping these golden nuggets. I love, love, love them. So, you bring something up that I thought, I joined the military because I'm this little Latina, 3 inches. I'm like, my father was the one who wanted me to be a Marine. So he was this tough Mexicano Latino, and I realized, you know what? Life can be scary. So I'm going to develop a defensive posture. I'm going to develop, the things that I need to develop so nobody can mess with me. But what I've realized as we step into the entrepreneur world, it's like, you got to remove that ego and you got to be all heart, right? And that's like a big aha moment that I've realized. It's like, no, Sandra, it's not about having that defensive posture. It's not about that. It's about you being vulnerable. And if people come at you, you go, it's okay. It's on them, not on me. And I love how you share this vulnerability, this truth, that everything stems from love. So what would you say to this high caliber woman or man who's watching, right? Because it's one of the things that I I personally had to endure was, listen to what's calling at you, not what's clawing at you. So there's moments where your ego's not your amigo. That ego, it helped me in the military, no doubt. I'm like, I'm like, oh, let me show you, buddy. This is how it's done. It helped me, and those masculinity traits were great, but I've realized that my femininity, that's where the true power lies, Jessie. So what would you highly recommend to this woman who wants more? What would you recommend to her to listen to what's calling at her and not what's clawing at her?
Honestly, I think generally speaking, as human beings, we always look out for the answers, the resources. We always think that something is outside of us. Even when we think of our higher self or we think of our best version of ourselves, we think of something that's outside, that's in the future. We're still giving this outside look to it. And I think it's so important to go in, right? Because we, in essence, are exactly who we need to be. I believe we came into the world, and since the moment that we were conceived, this is our most purest essence, right? We have purpose, we have a calling. And I think what happens is we actually, along the way in our life, because, circumstances, teachings, opinions, everything that happens in our life, we start sort of losing part of that, right? And so instead of trying to look outside, we need to start peeling those layers and getting rid of the labels and, the insecurities and the comfort zone, right? Because sometimes it's about comfort too. Sometimes it's, I have this steady paycheck, and so this is all I know. So I'm just going to stay here in this job. We forget who we truly are. And so the best that we can do is look within, because we have the answer. We are us. We are our highest self. The essence is already there, but it's been masked. And so what I would say to someone that's seeking for answers, it's great to get advice. It's great. There's been many times, I have mentors and people that help me, but the best mentors will tell you the best way they can help you, coaches, is by helping you find your true self, right? Anybody that just comes, oh, you should do this, it's not the same as saying, hey, do this exercise so you can find out what you're truly passionate about. They're always, even a therapist, they're always gonna help you find yourself, find your truth. And it's always inside of us somewhere. We just need to dig deep and find it. And I would say always follow that, because when I was starting out, I was so idealistic and I had this big dream and I wanted this building and I wanted this community. And, you know, a lot of people, and again, well-meaning people that speak maybe out of their own fears or limitations would say, oh, that sounds great, but how are you going to make money? Or, oh, that's a good idea, but like that takes a lot. Oh, you want to start a movement? You know what it takes to start a movement? So, you know, I would get all these feedback. And I had to be, again, call it a stubborn, if you will. I had to say, I know that if I have this desire, if this idea came to me, if this passion came to me, if this calling and this thirst and hunger came to me, is for a reason, right? And it belongs to me. And so you have to honor that. You have to believe that you wouldn't even have that if it didn't belong to you. Now, the second thing, so the first thing is fear that holds us back. The other thing that sometimes holds us back is we take the leap. We say, okay, you know, I'm supposed to start this business. I'm going to quit my job. But then we kind of get lost again because we start looking at what everybody else is doing. And we have this comparison thing. And we, you know, maybe see some shiny object over here, like, oh, that girl's doing so well with the online boutique. I'm just going to do an online boutique, or whatever the situation, right? And if it's not you, again, it doesn't matter that you quit that wrong job. Now you're doing somebody else's or trying to live somebody else's life. And this happens even with celebrities, right? Like, how many people say, I want to be Oprah Winfrey? And it's like, sorry, that position is already taken. There's already an Oprah Winfrey. Like, you need to be Sandra. I need to be Jessie, you know? And so that's what we should strive for. And how can I be unique? I always ask myself, how can we be unique? And there's been times if I notice someone trying to do something that looks like us or something, I'm that person that wants to be so unique that I will literally change. Like, if I have this color and someone's like starts using that color, I'll be like, okay, fine, I'm going to change my color, you know, because I want to stand out, you know, I want to be creative. And that is part of business. And forget the spiritual stuff, forget all that. Even if you go to business school, and I went to business school, they will teach you, like, you need to differentiate yourself. That is one of the main things when you're creating a business, what makes you different. So even if you're like, hey, I don't believe in all the other stuff, this is something that they will tell you. How can you be different? How can you stand out? What about your product is not there already, right? If the product is there, how can you make it so that it serves a unique purpose, a unique audience, maybe an unserved audience? So you always have to be thinking that way. You always have to be thinking, one, okay, I'm going to take the leap. I'm going to follow that. But how can I make it unique? In our case, for example, one of the unique things is you come to our event first and you can't talk about business. That's unique. I've never gone to an event that did that, right? So that's just one little example. But we have so many things where it's like you come to a Femex event or a Menex, because we have Menex now, and it's going to be different. And people are just talking about it now. And people are telling other people about it. And it's just a natural process. We don't have to pay people to talk about it, right? So make sure that you're creating that space, make sure that you're honoring yourself, and that you're always saying what's unique to me. If whatever you want to do, you want to write a book, you want to speak, you want to, anything you want to do, how can I stand out? How can I be different?
Beautiful. How can I stand out? How can I be different? Beautiful, Jessie. So, you know, I think it would be appropriate that I bring up, you know, your pregnancy, if I may.
Yeah, for sure.
And congratulations, by the way, if I haven't congratulated you, but there's, you know, that it's not in her plan. It's not in every woman's plan to have a kid, and that's okay.
Yeah.
What she deeply desires, like, go with that, right? But now that this baby's forthcoming, and you know, I know you're like off to a retreat to speak in Barbados or somewhere.
St. Lucia, I'm so excited. Yeah.
You know, so you have these upcoming things now with a baby on the way, when's the due date and how are things going to change?
Yeah. So due date is November 2nd. So this will probably be my last international trip before I have the baby, most likely. And this one was already pre-scheduled, but I know things will change. Things have already changed. The moment I found out I was pregnant, it immediately changed my priorities. It immediately now I just want to nest and do all the things. But this is the beautiful thing. It's that I created my life on purpose. I designed a business. I knew that when I wanted to be a mom, that I wanted to be with my kids because my mom was a single mom for a long time and she was working 12-hour, 14-hour days. She was an amazing mother, but I always wanted more of her. I always I want to see my mom more. So I always knew part of the reason I wanted to be an entrepreneur was for the time freedom, right? Knowing that I can travel when I want, knowing that I can take time off, knowing that I can be with my kids. That was a big priority. I would always say that, I will not have kids until I have the time freedom. And so what happens is, this is why it's important to be in alignment with who you are, right? In alignment with your purpose, your calling. If you desire that for yourself, you can create it. So I've been working all these years creating that. And along the way, many people would, say, hey, you're getting older, you better have kids or this or that. And I knew I wasn't ready yet. I knew no, I'm trying to create something and they didn't quite understand it. But again, I kept going with it, right? I know. And now that I'm having a baby, it's I had so much peace because I didn't have to completely, entirely change my life. I had it set up to where I know that I can be with my kids. I know that if I travel in a year or whatever again, or whenever I decide to travel, it's my choice now. I can bring my kids. I can maybe have a nanny, but still bring them with me. I can take them to work, which is my own office, my own building. I can stay at home and work from home. I could be doing this call from home. So I was so intentional about that even though a lot of things will change, I know that energy-wise, sleeping-wise, all things, I'm as prepared as I could be for it. And now some people could be listening and saying, oh my God, well, I still have a 9-to-5, or I have this business, I didn't think about it, whatever. Don't feel that way. Don't feel frustrated, right? I know that I'm privileged to be in the situation I'm in, but you can create whatever situation you want to be in. It's never too late. You can always say, that's a great idea. Maybe I didn't do it, but I'm going to do it now. I'm going to start now. I'm going to start creating that life. Hey, I already have kids, but I want to spend more time with them. How can I, the other thing is, this is why it's important to know what business you want to create. Because let's say that I had been like that person that, hey, I saw an online boutique and I want to do that. But online boutiques are freaking time consuming, or like a restaurant, freaking time consuming, then I still wouldn't have the freedom I wanted. So I knew when I was creating my business that one of the conditions was it has to be a business that can run itself, that other people can run, and that I don't have to be there. I do not have to be there. I try to be there as much as I can, but there are so many events that happen when I'm not here. There's so much transformation that happens when I'm not here. Other women through events and people love it and they grow and they cry and they do all the things. And I love that I can provide a platform, but I don't always have to be there doing it. And so think about these details. What do I want to create? How do I want to live? Do you want to live in a farmhouse and be home all day? Great. How can you do that? What kind of business would allow you to do that? Do you want to be traveling all the time? What would allow you to do that? Always think about that. And anything is attainable as long as you have a clear vision and you work on it. So now as a mom, even though a lot of things are going to change, a lot of it was planned for because I've been working on it for so many years. And now it's paid off. And now I know I'm going to be with my kids no matter what I'm doing. I'm probably going to be that speaker that, I'm going to say, oh, my kids are down here. Come up, bring them. I'll tell the nanny to bring them up and I'll introduce them, And I'm going to love doing that. I'm going to be in a book signing with my kid next to me, So that's the lifestyle I wanted. And that's what I've worked on for so many years. And I'm still working towards that.
Beautiful, beautiful. And it sounds like you've done just that. You've created your life by design, not by default. And it's important that this woman, whatever she wants out of life, that she go after, even though she might be like, ay, pero ya estoy vieja. Oh, ya se me pasó. It's never too late, right?
Mm-hmm.
No.
And it's never too late. And honestly, I'm 35 now. So, hey, are there things that I wanted to do when I was in my early 20s that I didn't get to do? Sure. But I realized that even the doors that quote unquote closed guided me and led me to where I am today. So even if there are things that you were like, hey, but I couldn't do this and this and that, it's okay. That's in the past, leave it in the past. But what do I want for my future and how can I get there now?
Beautiful. What do I want from my future and how can I get it now? And that's what pulling the trigger is all about. Is from this is like their entry point, so to speak. Mm-hmm. From this moment forward, you decide. This is a beautiful thing. You be stubborn. You be naive.
Yep.
You pull the trigger. You have fun and do whatever's in here, and it'll manifest it. So, Jessie, thank you so much. How can my audience, the viewers, how can they connect with you? How can they reach out to you? What's forthcoming? What would you like to share?
Yeah, so we're based out of San Diego, our headquarters and our buildings here. So for anyone in San Diego that wants to come check it out, we meet on Mondays for the women, and the men too, actually, they just meet later. So you can find all the information on our website at femexquarters.com. And then if you want to just, connect with me on social, my Instagram handle is at Jessie Medina Official. That's how I am on Facebook and Twitter and all things. So you can find me there. You can send me a message. I try to be really good about getting back to people. So if I see your message, I will reply. So if you want to reach out, and same for any speaking opportunities, anything like that, I'm always happy to serve in that way. That's one of my biggest passions. So yeah, but feel free to reach out if you want more entrepreneur friends, if you want a little tip, anything, we're always here for you. Beautiful. And you do just that. You lead and serve from your heart. You and your fiancé, los quiero mucho. Oh, igualmente. Un abrazote. I'm going to stop by whenever I get a chance. Maybe host another seminar there, because you practice what you preach, Jessie. You have left an indelible mark in my heart. Oh. And thank you for giving us like the ammunition, so to speak, so she can pull the trigger. You know what I'm saying? Like, go out there, do your thing, boo. Never, ever give up on yourself. Move forward. So thank you, Jessie. It's been an incredible time. Thank you for honoring me with your time and presence. I'll see you soon. And for my viewers, thank you so much for joining us. Besos.
Glutathione is a big word. It's the body's own master antioxidant. It's a scavenger for free radical, bacteria, and viruses. There are no products in the market with the ingredient NASET. NASET increases the production of glutathione that's in our body already to strengthen and enhance our immune system, elevate sense of well-being, support muscle strength and endurance, cognitive function, and liver support. It helps with increased energy and blood sugar regulation. Get your bottle of GSH Plus from www.salvationnutra.com.